Hey everybody, Jim here. Recently, NinjaBearHug Stu did a vid on his top 10 platformers, and it was a great video, by the way. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Very in-depth talks on all his favorites. It's pretty entertaining. And at the end he requested that some people do video responses, letting him know what some of their favorite platformers are, and I saw a handful of the video responses that have been made already. Really good videos, all of them. I'm not going to do what they did. They did top 10s of their own. I'm not going to do that. I'm not really decisive enough to make top 10 lists. I'm all over the place, but what I will do is talk about some platformers that I think are of note, that would be interesting or fun for anyone who enjoys platformers. So in no particular order, I'm going to talk about some good ones that you might not have played yet. So the first one I'm going to talk about, I actually don't have a physical copy of it with me. It's in storage somewhere in the United States. I left it behind when I moved, but it's a game. It's on the Xbox. It's called Voodoo Vince. It's a 3D platformer where you play as a little voodoo doll. So you're kind of like a little guy in a big world, and the look of the game is a very stylized take on the city of New Orleans, which I actually grew up not too far from New Orleans. I frequented New Orleans a lot as a kid. So the game looks good. It plays really good. It's fun, excellent 3D platformer, and the soundtrack is probably the highlight of the game for me. Really great soundtrack. A lot of really awesome jazz music, some upbeat, some not so upbeat depending on the environment, but it's all really great New Orleans inspired jazz music. So if you've never tried Voodoo Vince on the Xbox, I highly recommend that you do. Next up, this game here, Tiny Toon Adventures, for the Famicom and the Nintendo Entertainment System. Really fun 2D platformer. You can play as a handful of characters from the television show. There's Buster, Plucky, Dizzy Devil, and I think Furball. Really fun, excellent platformer, and they made two of them. The second one is also really good, and they even made one on the Super Nintendo and I think the Genesis. So if you ever get a chance to check out this 8-bit Tiny Toon Adventures game, I highly recommend it. Really great platform. Next, I'd like to talk about a game that was released only on Famicom. This is Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru. It was developed and released by Capcom, and it's a fantastic 2D platformer with this little guy here, Hanamaru. Your attack is basically like throwing a bird at your enemies, and so you basically, the levels themselves are just kind of your standard 2D platformers, and then the bosses, you play the bosses in this kind of like card game type deal where it's almost like betting on each turn, and as far as how much damage you do and things like that. But on the whole, this is a really great 2D platformer released only in Japan, unfortunately, because nobody else got to check out this awesome game. It's Kamen no Ninja Hanamaru. If you have a Famicom, or if you can even just download a ROM of it, I'd highly recommend it. Really great platformer. Next up, this game, Do Re Mi Fantasy. It features Milon, most famous from Milon's Secret Castle. Fantastic action platformer on the Super Famicom only, but you can play it. It's, I believe, on the Nintendo Wii Virtual Console. You can download it in the import section. Really great 2D platformer. Looks really good. Graphics are fantastic. Good soundtrack. Really good level of difficulty. It's not pull your hair out difficult, but it is definitely a challenging game. Makes you want to keep playing. So Do Re Mi Fantasy on the Super Famicom. Might want to give that one a look if you haven't already. Also on the Super Famicom, this game, Super Back to the Future 2. Fantastic. It is a platformer. You're Marty on the hoverboard. Game plays a little bit faster, I guess, than most platformers on the Super Famicom. You're kind of whizzing through the levels. flipping and jumping and all these kinds of things. But it's definitely a platformer, and it's definitely a very good platformer for the Super Famicom. If you get the chance, definitely check out Super Back to the Future 2. Next, a series really, the Bonk games, Bonk's Adventure, Bonk's Revenge, Super Bonk. They made a lot of these games for the TurboGrafx. They made them for the Super Famicom. They made them for the NES. So Bonk games appeared on a lot of different platforms. They're really fantastic platformers. I guess Bonk was meant to contend with the kind of like the big names in that genre, i.e. Mario and Sonic. And I think, at least on a certain level, that's accomplished. These games are really fun. There are gameplay mechanics here that aren't featured in Sonic or Mario. The games look good, sound good, they're very fun. If you've never tried a Bonk game, definitely do. There's some excellent 2D platformers. On the Mega Drive and Genesis, there's Kid Chameleon, called Chameleon Kid in Japan for whatever reason. A fantastic game, loads of levels, all these different helmets you can pick up to give you all these different powers. This game loaded with power-ups, and they're all pretty cool, from like a Jason Voorhees to a samurai to a guy in a tank that shoots skulls. Lots of really cool power-ups in this game. Lots of really good platforming. Just an all-around really fun, really great game. Kid Chameleon on the Mega Drive and Genesis. If you've never tried this one, it's an excellent 16-bit platformer. I highly recommend that you do. Next up, Gex. Gex is really cool. A lot of people didn't get a chance to play the first Gex because it came out on the 3DO, which is a system that was not very popular at the time because it was very expensive. It didn't have that many good games on it. But Gex is definitely one of them. This one is a 2D platformer. Crawl on the walls, tail whip, get power-ups that let you do various things. The character of Gex I actually like. He's a smart-ass gecko that watches too much TV. It's pretty cool. Games that came after this on the PlayStation, and I think they even got a release on the Nintendo 64, or at least one of them did. Gex 2 and 3, those were really fun 3D platformers that I also really enjoyed. But if you've never checked out Gex, any of the Gex games really, I would recommend that you do. They are some really great platformers. On the PlayStation, there's Jersey Devil, a seldom talked about 3D platformer that I really like. There were a lot of great platformers on the PlayStation: Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. I believe Stu mentioned like Medieval, and well, he mentioned a couple on the PlayStation. So the PlayStation had a lot of really great platformers on it, but I don't really hear a lot of people mention Jersey Devil, which is really fun. It's very typical kind of the other platformers you saw on that system, running around collecting things, in this case mostly pumpkins. The whole thing has kind of like a Halloween town feel to it, I think. So you run, you get your spin attack, lots of jumping, lots of challenging platforming in this game. You can run and glide and all these kinds of things. Really a very fun 3D platform on the PlayStation. It's Jersey Devil. I would highly recommend that you check this out if you're a fan of other games in the genre like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. This is a really good one. Lastly, some of my favorite action platformers ever are the Earthworm Jim games. I have here Earthworm Jim 2 on the Sega Saturn, which is actually my favorite Earthworm Jim game. They all look fantastic. They all play really well. They're just very challenging and kind of just quirky and different 2D action platformers. And they all have really great soundtracks. This one in particular, fantastic CD quality music. But all of the Earthworm Jim games, with the exception of Earthworm Jim 3D on the 64, but any of the 2D platforming Earthworm Jim games, they're well worth picking up. And like I said, this one on the Sega Saturn is my favorite. There's also Earthworm Jim on the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, the Sega CD, and I think there was even one on the PlayStation. I'm not sure. But any way you can get it, definitely do play some Earthworm Jim games. They, to me, are definitely in that upper echelon of 2D action platformers. So that's it. Those are some what I think are notable platformers that if you haven't checked any of those out, I would highly recommend you do. I don't think he would be disappointed with any of those games. So that's it. That's my response to Stu, Mr. Ninja Bear Hug. Everybody, thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.